And gentlemen, live on the Philippe Matthews Show. Thank you for tuning in wherever you are around the world. We got him back. It's been a minute, but we got him back because he is the best of the best. Brendan Gawkert is with us. He is the founder and creator of LiberaMedic. He's a molecular biologist who focuses on pharmaceuticals and nutraceuticals. And his experience in the health industry spans over 25 years, most of which have been spent formulating leading neuroceutical products. And his main areas of expertise is liver health, overall health, weight loss, cleansing, and supplementation. What we're going to be talking about today is something that a lot of, you would think, super fit people like bodybuilders and weightlifters know about, but they don't. And perhaps 90%, maybe even 99% of the supplements and the products that they're taking to build muscle, to create energy, even down to the water that they're drinking, is filling them full of toxins and damaging their liver. Brendan Gawkert is going to talk to us about how that happens. Welcome back, my friend.
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. So as I told you in the green room, I've interviewed some of the bodybuilding greats, Lou Ferrigno, Carla Dunlap, Linda Murray. These are the bodybuilding icons, the giants. And I, especially as they say in my salad years, because I'm old as hell now, but in my younger years, I would bodybuild, and I was, this musclehead kid running around, and I was taking protein shakes every meal. I wasn't even eating food. I was just drinking it,
Right.
as an idiot, I was eating protein bars. I would buy a gallon of water and drink 4 gallons of spring water or whatever, while I'm working out, and have my water. And then sometimes you get tired of the water, so you put, I don't want to mention the name, but you put a sweetener in it, or, like an iced tea kind of thing in there. And just so you can have something palatable, because it's just not water, but it's a little flavored, but it doesn't have calories in it. And you think because it doesn't have calories in it, that, it's going to be great. I'm going to flush it through and it's going to be fantastic. All the while, I did not know all these years that I was creating toxins in my liver from the bodybuilding lifestyle, and that you do need LiberaMedic products and supplements to cleanse your liver and your gut, even more so because you're taking more supplementations than the normal human being.
Yeah, and you brought up a lot of really good points, and I want to first say that it's an important topic to talk about. If you sit down with anybody who's a serious bodybuilder like you have, you're going to find out that their knowledge about biochemistry is really high. These are sort of walking nutritionists, although they typically focus on, and it makes sense, somewhat narrow in terms of, you get the right constitution of amino acids. They want to make sure that they balance out and get their peaks in the gym in terms of their energy levels. So they're highly focused on pre-workout, post-workout, the BCAA constitution. They look at the types of foods that they eat, and they, pull back on the fats, and, they want to get lean, but at the same time build muscle mass. So, like yourself, like when I was young, I had a lot of difficulty putting on weight, so I would take the gainer stuff. So we're talking, and the protein bars. So we're talking about, there's a lot of different products that are out there for individuals who are going to the gym on a regular basis to build muscle mass, to try and get lean. And the problem is that this industry, the sports nutrition industry, is tone deaf when it comes to actual health physiology. They can build you up, but what they are building is somewhat dangerous because you're taking in a high toxin load, especially in the sports nutrition field. So most of the time, I'm spending my lectures talking to individuals who have fatty liver disease. That's a third of the people walking around on the sidewalks all day long. But the individuals who are in the gym, they think they're completely immune. And so I want to educate these individuals, because what's happening is I go to the Vegas shows, the Mr. Olympia, Miss Olympia, and they have all the major brands out there. And I've spoken, I've sat down with the CEOs of these companies, and I'll be honest with you, they're aware. These are very intelligent individuals. They do have backgrounds in biochemistry. They know what's in their products. They don't hear the clamor from their customer base to change it. So what they're doing is they're going with low carb, low sugar, which means they're turning to artificial sugars. To get supplements fact panel on the back of these things to look a certain way, and it's full of toxins. And the customers there, the bodybuilders that are going to the gym, are just loading themselves up, and it's actually having some very definite negative effects on performance today in the gym, and definitely overall health down the road. And the further we sort of attack this thing and approach it from a health standpoint, the better off these individuals are going to be. The other part of it is, when you build in toxins into your diet, your liver is going to, as a defense mechanism, create fat cells, take the fat cells, put the toxins in there, and you will end up with either a overly fatty liver that won't be functional properly. You'll start to negatively impact your kidneys. Your digestive system won't work optimally anymore. And when you're taking in a lot of proteins on top of that, you certainly don't want to slow down in your GI tract. So we're going to talk about a lot of those things, but these are common issues. And as we talked about this in the green room, maybe we'll catch a couple of people who aren't actually, sorry about that. That's a phone call coming in.
I was like, is that me? I was like, oh my God. Wait, no, I got a Bluetooth. They wouldn't, no.
That's the CEO of a nutritional brand who probably wouldn't want me to talk about these things.
Exactly. He's probably saying, okay, we got to find Brendan. We got to take him out.
Right. Right.
It's the nutritional mafia, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it is. Brendan is saving lives and changing the industry. You know what? It's all about the dollar bill, y'all. Come on now.
Right. Exactly.
So here's the thing, Brendan. You were saying about in the green room, and I want you to remember that thought. But I did not know that artificial sugars and artificial colors are such a big deal when they take it out in terms of the natural replacement of that. Bodybuilders, weightlifters, gym rats also, not the weekend warrior per se, but the people who are serious, who are actively taking supplements for whatever the type of training, whether biking, cross training, whatever, even martial artists, some they don't think about, they automatically think they're cleansed because of their lifestyle. It is kind of an arrogant, grandiose, elitist kind of way of thinking. It's like, hell, I know everything there is about fitness and nutrition. Look at Look at me. I'm fantastic. But liver is a fascinating thing, because especially if you're in competitive bodybuilding, part of that cycle is to gain as much muscle and weight as you can, and then lose that fat so that you can be lean for competition. What I'm hearing you say is that if the liver is taking toxins that it cannot eliminate through naturally through the body, it takes it and wraps it up in fat.
Right.
And that's probably fat that you would want to get rid of. And if it's storing itself in the liver, that's not good. And if you keep putting that in your body, not just every day, but all throughout the day, wow, that sounds like a time bomb ticket.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And let me just, this is what I refer to as the big four: artificial sugars, artificial colors, heavy metals, and GMOs. Okay. So when it comes to these contaminants, they're all contributing factors. When we're talking about the liver going through its natural detox phase, and let's back into some of the lectures that we've done before. So you get this breakdown in the microbiome. which when we're talking about the nutritional supplements industry is promoted through artificial sugars. Believe it or not, a lot of these artificial sugars, in particular sucralose, will decrease the beneficial bacteria in your microbiome by 50%. So when you have an artificial sugar in there, like a sucralose, and then on top of that, you have a GMO containing food like a whey or one of these protein bars, they're not all organic, and most of them are not organic at all. That means they contain those GMO contaminants, the Roundup constituents, those chemicals like glyphosate, which pit the GI tract, which allow all these toxins to flow through. So you've got that one issue. On top of that, as we were talking about before with the artificial sugars, we've got things like aspartame. We have crystalline fructose. We have sucralose, aka amino sweet. And they go by different names in order to sort of disguise themselves in an ingredient list. So you have to sort of educate yourself, and we have this on the website, you know, what all of these artificial sugars, what their names are, so that you can identify them and make sure that you're not consuming them. But for instance, let's go to one of these artificial sugars. I believe it was aspartame. So no, I'm sorry. Let's take a look at sucralose. So sucralose was an artificial sugar that was created in a chemical lab and was approved in 1998. Okay, so there's multiple studies that were conducted by the makers of sucralose. None of them were conducted for a longer period of time than 4 days in a human trial. Okay, now they were conducted.
What?
Yep, that was it. That was
4 days, and it's approved. Bam.
The only prerequisite. Now, there are longer studies for sucralose in laboratory animals like rats, but they all came down with terrible cancers and tumors. So I don't know how this exactly came about, but so the 4-day study that was conducted on human trials was the only prerequisite the FDA had. Not only that, but it's never been cleared for never been proven for healthy human consumption, aka healthy human consumption, because when it was studied only on the safe levels of tooth decay, if you can believe that. So this gave the manufacturers the ability to start putting this stuff into products. And obviously it's a toxin. It goes right into the liver for detoxification, unless, of course, you have so many other toxins that are coming through because of you know, a lot of these nutraceutical products that you're end up taking. I say nutraceutical, they're essentially nutraceutical. Sports nutrition products need to be broken down by the liver. The liver is overcome or overwhelmed, starts creating fat cells in order to store the toxins. These fat cells end up building up within the liver. And occasionally when a bodybuilder has difficulty getting lean, that's when your genetics are deciding that the liver is not the only place we're going to be storing this. We're going to be storing this in other areas. So when people get on a detox and they start to veer away from these artificial sugars, artificial colors, these GMO contaminants, and these heavy metals, that's when they start really getting lean, and they start to perform better in the gym as well. So, and we have a lot of this information on the website, but so, you know, we have another one, crystalline fructose, for instance. That is a relatively recent biochemistry breakthrough, if you call it that, by the industry. We all know about the dangers of high fructose corn syrup. This is sort of like its synthetic cousin. It's much worse. It increases or decreases the sensitivity to cells to insulin at a much more rapid and effective pace. So, you know, crystalline fructose is definitely a bad actor. But again, like when we start taking a look at, and I really hope that at the end of this, that individuals, bodybuilders, and whoever are taking these products really take a close look at the stuff that they are ingesting. Start taking a look at artificial colors. The artificial colors, you know, the red 40s and the blue ones and the yellow, you know, 60s, whatever they are, they're there are neurotoxins as well as just regular toxins. So, I know that there's a lot of talk about, guys going into the gym, women too, and, that person must be on steroids. They're going through a steroid rage. You hear about that stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
These toxins can have similar effects on individuals. They are a neurotoxin, and when they get into your body in high concentration,
Benjamin, live on the Philippe Man.
Kinds of problems. Okay, so that's one of those things that isn't picked up on and talked about and discussed very often. Again, there's more information on the website, but now
on the website, LiberaMedic, is it LiberaMedic.com, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
On LiberaMedic.com, do you have links to these studies?
Yeah, we have links to some of these studies. Yes.
Excellent. That's fantastic, because I think it's important to be able to allow people to do the research. And this is not opinion, ladies and gentlemen. This is fact. And what's fascinating to me that I'm hearing is how much we're in the dark, that in terms of our own health and cleansing ability. Because again, you just think that because I'm eating lean and I'm taking these supplements, that I'm okay. What I'm hearing is in terms of some of these ingredients, the artificial sugars and colors, we haven't even gotten into the heavy metals and all that yet, that there's nothing safe.
In this industry, it's very hard to find clean products, which is why I generally tell people to look back at the nutritional health industry. So, you're going back to the Whole Foods of the world or your local, health food store, because trusting a GNC or a Vitamin Cottage, or even, it's a little bit difficult. You really have to read the ingredient labels on these guys, because again, they're not being pushed by their customer base, because their customer base is not really aware of the dangers. But let's take a look. So when we're referencing studies, for instance, Consumer Reports, I think it was back in 2010 or so, had done an analysis of the leading protein supplements. I think they were mostly whey supplements in the industry. And when you take a look at the study, you'll know, it was like the top 5. So these are the ones that all the bodybuilders are taking. They were able to identify higher than normal levels of arsenic, cadmium, lead, and mercury in most of the protein shakes. Okay, and how that can get through quality assurance inspections, I'm not entirely sure. But that Consumer Report study is available online, and I link to it on my website, and I highly recommend people take a look at that. Now, these nutritional supplements companies have probably changed their quality assurance levels since, because that was quite a number of years ago, but it's an indication of the I won't say the lack of understanding, but it's not as much of a priority in that particular category to be making a clean product. So you have to start questioning what are the things that are in there. So for instance, just the other day I went down to a GNC and I pulled a leading whey manufacturer off of the shelf. And if I mention the name, everybody would recognize it. It's a very recognizable brand. So I just read off the list of ingredients, and it is typically very short, not the supplements panel necessarily. The supplements panel is long, but I'm talking about the actual ingredients that are going in. So it had listed various protein blends, isolates, and other things. Next ingredient in there was lecithin, which is a soy GMO. Right after that was natural and artificial flavors. We don't know what those are. Those could be any number of about 4,000 to 5,000 different chemicals. Okay, citric acid, which is typically GMO. Sucralose, which is a known carcinogen. Again, there's your artificial flavoring, right? FD&C Red 40, which is probably one of the worst artificial colors. It's a carcinogen, it's a neurotoxin out there. Aminogen and lactase. That was the leading brand out there. Okay, so and if I were to pick up a protein bar, I would probably see the same thing. So the driving force for a lot of competitors in this field and individuals who you're talking about earlier, gym rats, they want low fats, which actually they should not want. They should be going for high fat, high protein, but they
Wow.
want low fat because they think that that converts to fat on your body. It doesn't. It's the toxins that are converting to fat on your body.
That's huge
And
right there. That's big.
yep. And
That
the
is
other
big.
thing is the artificial sugars. So they can get away. So if you've got a one serving bar of say 50 grams, they don't want to put, 10 to 15 grams of this stuff being sugar. So instead of putting a natural sugar in there, they'll put an aspartame or a sucralose in there. Well, that'll get the sugar down to 2 grams because there's about 100-to-1 difference between the sweetness of an artificial sugar versus a natural sugar. So that they can get away with putting a lot less in there and still make it taste good. The problem is that that's going directly to your liver. And in the instance of aspartame, so let's take a look at what the constituents actually are, because I know that there's a lot of biochemists out there in this field, so they'll appreciate this. So that aspartame is actually made up of aspartic acid and phenylalanine. Well, phenylalanine converts to methanol. And if anybody knows what happens to methanol in your body, that converts to formaldehyde. So I don't know too many people that are going around throwing down formaldehyde for health.
Wow.
And that, of course, will do damage to DNA. So again, we're talking about long-term effects that people need to be aware of and stay away from. So
This is revolutionary. This is huge. Now, let's talk about, because there are 4 basic products in the base of LiberaMedic. Let's talk about the ding that just killed my ear from your computer. Let's talk about.
It's another CEO from the nutritional supplement.
Yeah, I mean, they're on you today, man. I mean, we've never had this before. They're coming to get you.
Grand Central.
And I'll give. Hey, I'm not a part of this. I'll give you his address. No, I'm just kidding. But no, this is serious work. So it sounds like we can't stop them. So maybe we can just save people 1 liver at a time, if you will.
Right.
Using the products, as I've told you on many occasions, I use them every day, and I noticed immediately higher levels of energy, and also noticed weight loss, which now I realize is coming from the fats being released from the liver, and all of the toxins that were being stored because it couldn't eliminate it. Now it's able to eliminate it, and so now it's coming out of my body, which was huge. And then, of course, I had energy. So let's talk about a few things. Let's talk about how these products that you have formulated and developed remove the artificial sugars, colors, heavy metals, the GMO contaminants. What's the time frame for that to happen, especially if somebody is taking these supplements on a daily basis? What's the cleanse to reload ratio, if you will? And then also let's talk about these sports drinks, like vitamin water, and the energy drinks. I don't want to use the name or anything, but the stuff that you see all the athletes endorsing when you're running and biking, and let me take my my sport, sip of my sports drink so I can have more energy to replenish my what do you call those darn things?
Electrolytes.
Electrolytes.
Yeah.
Let's have that conversation all at once, because I think it's all interrelated.
Yep. So let me go through the breakdown of I'll go through the breakdown of the breakdown, the explanation of what's taking place in the body. So we talked about the decrease in the beneficial bacteria in our body, and of course our bodies are made up about 10-to-1 bacteria to human cells. So we have a very complex symbiotic relationship with the bacteria in our body, and if that gets disturbed, you have all kinds of problems in your digestive tract, including candida overgrowth, Then you're introducing GMOs in there, the glyphosates and other toxins that go in there. And specifically, we know through scientific study, this is confirmed, that glyphosate, some of those other things that are found in Roundup that are used in GMO products. And a lot of people out there are probably saying, well, I take whey. This is, I don't have to worry about that. If the cow was eating a GMO corn, which by and large, that's what they eat, you are getting glyphosate in the milk, you are getting glyphosate in the whey. That is pitting the GI tract and then travels to the liver and inhibits P450 cytochromes, which are critical in both phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification within the liver. And that's what we're talking about, okay? So you are disrupting your digestive process. You are taking in a lot of protein. Sometimes people have irritation within the GI tract, either constipation or diarrhea. So there are a lot of different things taking place here. And when you have this disruption in your GI tract, you will more than likely end up with a leaky gut, which brings upon inflammation, which is so slow that you don't recognize it. And sometimes it's not associated with any pain. So this constant inflammation that takes place down there will tap your adrenal glands, because your adrenal glands are going to secrete cortisol to reduce the inflammation. So now you're dealing with energy reduction, which is not going to help you out in the gym, which means you need more of that pre-workout stuff. So this is a very complex cycle that's taking place, and we need to reverse it as quickly as possible. So what we've done is we've developed products like hepatibin, which is a liver cleansing product, and other products such as serrapeptase, which breaks apart biofilm, which usually is the one hiding, could be hiding metals, candida overgrowth, all that stuff. And then that candida product, with those two things, will come through the GI tract, sort of sweep the GI tract clean. You got to be going back to eating clean, non-GMO products, of course, and taking a look at alternatives for protein, from protein bars to protein powders to pre-workout stuff. And the pre-workout stuff, by the way, is one of the worst of the products in the nutritional supplements industry, one of the worst offenders, because they have the extreme high concentration of both caffeine and artificial sugars. And they're always colored, it seems like. So artificial colors in there. So, and you said with the electrolyte drinks, the sports drinks that you take, say during and after a workout, they're always colored. They almost always have artificial color, artificial sugars in them. We need to be avoiding those things. One of the side effects, and if I can call it that, of taking our products, and I know this from experience with a lot of the bodybuilders that do take our products, is that their bowel movements are more regular. So if you're 3 times a day, guess what? You're going to the bathroom 3 times a day, which for some of them is a very unusual process. However, that is the way your body is supposed to react to things. So that's a benefit. And that sort of indicates that there's, sort of cleaner travel in the GI tract. The other thing, of course, is that their energy levels, as you talked about earlier, are getting boosted. Why? Because the inflammation is getting reduced. So the adrenal glands aren't getting as tapped out. So your energy levels are going up. The other thing that they typically notice is they're getting leaner. And they're getting leaner because the body has less toxins to deal with. And hepatibin is the highest concentration of beneficial antioxidants for the liver out there. So the liver is able to get into that phase 2 conjugation detox phase. And they're starting to take those fat cells, break them down, transform those toxins from fat soluble to water soluble so they can run out of the body. So all of those things are taking place. In terms of how long these things take, it depends on your current diet, how much of these toxins you had in your body to begin with. If you are sort of the clinical fatty liver patient that sometimes we deal with, you probably should be on the product for about 3 months. But certainly we've seen individuals that go on the product for shorter periods of time and see some rather dramatic results. But I certainly won't make any guarantees. Everyone's physiology is very different. But this I do know, it's beneficial. It's the healthy way to do things. And it's really hard to get these things out of your body without it.
This is really fascinating because, you know, unless I had started taking the products and experienced it for myself, I wouldn't have believed it. It was really almost like being reborn. And we've had conversations, you and I, about sometimes just when you feel better and you're truly healthy, it's a spiritual high. It's a spiritual connection. It's etherical, you know, celestial. And what I really love about the authenticity of your products of LiberaMedic is that I can just let go of all of this money that I have been spending on all of these products that are contaminating my body. And I can just, it's almost like, remember, like, okay, you know, like you see all of the exercise equipment that they're promoting. And, you know, remember the Thigh Master and the, you know, it was every kind of master, Thigh Master, Ankle Master, you know, Knee Master. And it's like, what happened to just good old sit-ups and push-ups back in the day when they didn't have this? Let's just go back to when Arnold Schwarzenegger or people like that back in the 70s didn't have all these machines and all of this technology, yet they had the greatest bodies in the world. Let's go back to that. LiberaMedic kind of gives me that ability to be able to go back to basics and to eat naturally, and you know, almost not get caught up in the consumerism of, oh, I've got to have vitamins in my water. Why? Just honestly, why do I need to have that? Oh, well, you've got to drink, you know, mineral water, and you've got to do this, and it's all of a sudden, it's like you get trapped in this consumerism, and I realize it's an entrapment of toxins, and this is why I love the work that you are doing, and your level of dedication. Talk to us about water, and vitamin water, and people saying, well, can I just, you know, okay, I'll stop taking the electrolyte stuff and all of this stuff, but can I just drink water?
Right. Yeah. And yeah, this is a question that we get a lot. So when you're buying a water bottle, and you have to do your own independent research online, unfortunately, because they don't put necessarily all the trace things that are in the water on the side of the bottle of water. So when you're buying a bottle of water, always buy a bottle that doesn't have a lot of flexibility in there. And the reason is the more plasticizers that are in the bottle, the more flexible the bottle is, the more the plastic has a tendency to leach into the water. And those plasticizers are toxins, and they will get into the body, and it will cause the body to have to try to remove them. So you want a bottle that has a nice thick wall to it. The other thing is a lot of, you know, vitamin waters and that kind of stuff. Check out the artificial flavors and colors and all that kind of stuff, because they do have them. Just to make sure that your water is water. Some of the vitamin water I don't want to necessarily talk about directly, because I'm talking about a brand. But a lot of times manufacturers will put things into products that will come up on the supplements panel and say, oh, it's got vitamin A, it's got vitamin B, it's got vitamin D, and all that kind of stuff. They're the synthetic forms. Oftentimes they're not methylated forms. They're forms that your body has to go through a ton of additional work to make them functional within the body. Just be aware of those things. Just drink water. You know, a nice RO filter, a nice reverse osmosis filter is what you're looking for. Put it in a container that's BPA free, or a glass container. So that's sort of my take on those things.
So, okay, I'm writing this down, a reverse osmosis filter. And what was the other, BPA?
BPA free, yeah.
BPA free.
I mean, I understand people don't like to take glass into a into a gym. That makes perfect sense to me. But if you're going to take plastic, make sure it's BPA free.
Okay, yeah, and I just bought I just bought one. I love the darn thing too. It says on the BPA free, and it's important, I think. Now, here's a question too. When you're buying bottled water, like distilled water or spring water or whatever from the store, it's in plastic, and it's in plastic, especially if you buy it by the gallons, it's in bad plastic.
Right.
So, can I take the bad water out, put it in good, non-BPA, whatever? Is there a cleansing process that I can do for the water that I buy, or do I need to get a particular filter that I just make my water, cleanse my water from the tap? What is your recommendation on that?
So you can get, you end up going out to a store and you end up buying a 24-pack or 48-pack or a bottle of water, whatever it is. Start doing the calculation. Those costs add up relatively quickly. If you go down to a Home Depot or something like that and you pick up an RO filter, which you can pretty easily install underneath your kitchen cabinet, you're talking about somewhere between $250 and $300. I know that that's expensive for some people, but again, what is that? Maybe 3 months, 4 months, maybe 5 months of bottled water. That's your best bet. Okay, and then you just go out and buy a container. You're doing the environment a huge disservice when you're buying all of that bottled water, and that ends up becoming refuse. You don't have to worry about the plasticizers in the bottles if you're not buying them anymore, and you're getting extremely clean water because it's coming out of your tap through an RO filter. So that would be my recommendation to the folks out there.
Fantastic. All right, so we talked about two products in the LiberaMedic line. Serapeptase and hepatabin, excuse me.
Yeah, boy, I got it.
Let's talk about the other two, because you have a candida complex, and what was the? Can't think of the fourth one. What's the fourth one?
The one for the liver, the red palm.
Red palm oil. Speak to us about how those two interact with hepatabin and serapeptase, and basically, completely cleanses your leaky gut and your liver together.
Sure. So the red palm oil is the highest concentration of tocotrienols in the market. So we didn't want to put vitamin E on there because it's very misleading. So red palm, the reason why red palm is so healthy, and Dr. Oz endorses it and all that wonderful stuff about 2 or 3 years ago, said it was the best supplement to come around in a long time, is that the health benefits are coming from the tocotrienols. Whereas before we were really just focused on the tocopherols. So the red palm has the highest concentration of tocotrienols in nature. We take the red palm and then we concentrate the tocotrienols within the red palm to about 152 times its natural state. And that's the highest in the marketplace. What those do is they go into the liver and they help to detoxify the liver, getting into that phase 2 conjugation phase. And we're not entirely sure, but individuals that have the MTHFR gene mutation, which means essentially they have a reduction in the ability to methylate properly, which leads to a much higher concentration of toxins that are not able to be removed. Some mechanism rather, the tocotrienols are able to help with the detoxification of that without going through a methylation stage. So at least that's what the findings are leading us to. So somebody with fatty liver or somebody who really wants to clean their liver, they probably should be taking a look at both the red palm oil and the hepatabin in combination. Those are our two liver products, and while the hepatabin is extremely good at both repairing leaky gut and also detoxifying the liver, to have it in combination with a good strong oil with the high concentration of tocotrienols is a real benefit. The candida complex is a little bit misleading because it doesn't just take care of candida, although most people have candida overgrowth. So that's typically what people are looking for. But when we take a look at the gut, obviously there's a very complex community down there. There's deleterious bacteria, there's other parasites, there's virus, there's metals, there's all kinds of stuff. So what we did is the candida complex that we put together is a very complex formulation with about 7 or 8 different ingredients in there to get after candida. But the side benefit of doing that is they also go after other fungus and mold, other virus, and essentially are eradicating a lot of what's in your GI tract that you do not want. Okay. So taking those in combination with the liver products is a good idea, because what ends up happening is when you take things that will essentially clean your colon and your GI tract, you're going to get what they refer to as die-off, and that is toxins, and that will leach back into your body. And if you're already taking hepatidin, what you're doing is you're protecting your liver from this influx of toxins and your body, and stripping those toxins and pushing them through the kidneys or into the bile, however, to get rid of them, so that your body is clean and you don't get those typical side effects, those flu-like symptoms that people sometimes go through, which we call that die-off. So that's important. And of course, we do have the sugar balance there for individuals that have diabetes and don't want to be taking insulin. It's sort of a natural blood sugar support mechanism. So we've covered our bases on this. And what I was talking about before, when individuals have leaky gut for a longer period of time and they have toxins floating around in their body and they have inflammation, we talked about the adrenal glands getting tapped. We do have a relationship with a sister company called Zen Herbalists, and they make two products, Zen Calm and Zen Sleep. And those have built into them adrenal support organic herbs. And so when we run into individuals with these problems, this is generally what we recommend that they be on, because you have to balance out your endocrine system when you're going after liver detoxification as sort of a primary mode. It sort of makes the whole process a lot more effective.
We talked earlier about what these products do and how long you need to take them. Now I know you take pretty much everything twice a day. Once in the morning, and you don't have to have food on your stomach to take them, so they won't upset your stomach or anything like that. And there's a reason behind that as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, when we introduce natural things that are beneficial, that are removing the deleterious or bad actors, typically it should not cause any discomfort from your GI tract, so you can take it on an empty stomach.
So you take it twice a day. And I know this is kind of probably a stupid question as I'm now trying to formulate it, but how much will it detox within a 24-hour period of time? Like, I take it in the morning and then I'll take it before going to bed. I wake up the next morning. How much? And obviously I'm gonna because I do eliminate 3 times a day. I didn't want to share that with everybody, but there is a difference too in how that comes out. What are you supposed to, for the bodybuilders and for the the gym rats and for the really high-end fitness people who are on supplements, when they take it, what are they supposed to feel or see? Are there some things that they can kind of look at and monitor, because these are people that are hyper in tune with their bodies?
Yeah, within the first 24 hours, they should pretty much feel an increase in energy, especially if you're taking hepatidin and the candida product and adding the serrapeptase in there as well. You're definitely going to feel a spike in energy first 24. It may go down a little, may feel a little bit of the aches within the next 12 to 24 hours after that, and then come back up. And essentially what's taking place there is that you're removing the toxins almost right away. From the liver, you're alleviating a lot of that toxin burden even within the first 24 hours. You're stripping out some of the bad actors in the GI tract, and it has a positive effect on the immune system and inflammation pretty quickly. So those are some of the experiences. So I'll also share with you, I remember we had a pretty tough case one time with a CIO from Silicon Valley. And those guys, what their typical work schedule is like. So this is an individual who's a very sedentary lifestyle, sitting in front of a computer, pretty much, it could be 15, 20 hours in a day, and not eating the most ideal foods. And this individual was addicted to sodas on top of it. So he started to take the product. I had to back him off the hepatibin right away. He got massive headaches within the first 24 hours. So that's an indication of how quickly the product gets into the body, starts to work. And essentially what's happening is you're taking toxins that were once confined within fat cells, and you are elevating them into the body, transferring them from fat soluble to water soluble. You still have to run them out of your body. And if you don't do that quick enough, or there's an immense amount of them in your body, they can pass the blood-brain barrier and cause headaches. And that's what he was feeling. So you should get the feeling, the impact relatively quickly. Immediately, what people ought to recognize is that their bowel movements end up becoming more regular, and they look a little bit more like they should. And that is a fairly common reaction, and one that a lot of people really appreciate.
Oh, absolutely. That's huge. I really appreciate that. Yeah, if you take it and because it's so damn effective and works so quickly and efficiently, if the more toxins, because there was a point when I was addicted to soda. I'm no longer. I don't drink it anymore. Maybe every now and again when I go to the movies, but that's about it. But I used to have. Oh gosh, I'm embarrassed to even talk about it. But I used to have to. I literally would have to have a soda with every meal.
Oh sure, yeah.
Right? I mean, it was every meal, and it was a soda. And I would just buy 2 liters at a time and just drink that every day throughout the day, and not think anything about it. Oh, I'm thirsty. Rather than have water, I'm going to have a soda.
Well, and you and I have talked about this before, where sugar, artificial sugar or otherwise, they've done studies that show that it is 8 times more addictive than cocaine. It's the same that dopamine cycle.
Right.
So, I joke with people all the time. Look, if you've cut sugar out of your diet, you can go to cocaine and heroin, no problem. You should have out of your regimen.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's so funny. It's like, let the DEA go after that. Just lock up everybody in the damn country. There'll be 2 people out there. That's it. Because it's really unfortunate, but it is what it is. It's unfortunate that money precipitates the health of its citizens, and that so many of the illnesses and cancers that our population face could either be eradicated or at least neutralized. The numbers could go down tremendously.
Yeah.
Because and not only longevity of life, but quality of life.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think we're touching on a lot of different subjects here, and you're absolutely right. When we're talking about aging, and when we're talking about, you can't have that conversation without talking about inflammation. Inflammation increases aging. What's the major cause of inflammation? Believe it or not, it's sugar. What's the other one? It's toxins. So, I mean, if people want to do a little bit of independent research on this, there's one of the premier experts on sugar, Professor Lustig from the University of San Francisco. So it's UCSF. And he's done a number of documentaries on sugar. I believe he's a pediatric endocrinologist. And he's taken a look at it for about the last 20 or 30 years. And he's found that, fructose is as bad for you as, drinking alcohol, and potentially worse. It's broken down in the liver the exact same way. It has the same byproducts. It increases inflammation. It causes type 2 diabetes. It is a major constituent in our diet now. You can find it in anything from, tomato sauce to dressings. And here's the thing about sugar is once you start incorporating it into your diet, you start craving it. So even if you accidentally stick it in your diet somewhere, all of a sudden, a few hours later, you'll want more. So, and a lot of that is the cravings that you get directly from the candida. And you and I have discussed this. When you have candida in your digestive tract, they are communicating with your vagus nerve that goes back up to the midbrain. So when you're asking for sugar and carbs, just remember, it might not be you that's asking for it. But when you start taking things in, you know, a cancer cell, for instance, the ability for a cancer cell to survive and multiply, its energy source, there are certain mechanisms, certain biocascades that are essentially broken, dismembered. So your own cells that have not gone through any DNA mutation have not become cancerous. You can use proteins, you can use fat, you can use sugar, you can use all sorts of different sources for energy to power that cell. A cancer cell has one source and one source only. It's sugar. So, and that's a really important thing for people to understand.
That's huge. You know, when I think about when we're talking about aging and those folk who are going back into the gym, who are saying, I'm going to go and, you know, get healthy, and they're weightlifting and they're active. And it's almost in a sense, and it's going to sound very morbid, people, but it's almost a sense of the things that we are doing unconsciously to ourselves is almost like assisted suicide. It's just, you know, we're killing ourselves. It might be slowly over time, but, you know, as you get older, it gets quicker. So you really have to think about that you are responsible for this vessel. And, you know, you can, the doctors that you might be going to, they don't have a invested interest in your longevity quality. They're just dealing with symptoms and the medical community.
No, yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, we have, you know, in this country, we have essentially an inversion. A lot of other countries around the world, it's the exact opposite. But here, the sicker you are, the more invasive medical processes are involved, the more money the medical system gets. And that's not the way it is in other countries that are successful at treatment and, you know, prophylactic approaches to health. The other thing that I would say is, you know, like my grandmother tells me all the time, look, we didn't have to eat organic in my day. Well, everything was organic in your day.
Exactly.
We have a population that is, you know, 5 times the size it was back in, you know, the 1940s and 1950s. So there's a lot more need for, you know, for agriculture, or at least food on the shelf. There's a lot more food. The food requirement is much higher. And who's filling the void? It's not always big agri. It's the chemical companies. So, you know, I tell people there are approximately 634,000 tanker trucks full of chemicals that are produced in this country every day. Some of it is dedicated to the food industry. And that's a hell of a lot of, that's a large industry, and they've got their hold on Washington. And you just have to be very vigilant and careful about the types of things you put in your body.
So for the people watching this, because you know, I'm once I'm done with this, I'm gonna get a quick bite to eat, and then I'm gonna go to the gym, and so I'm gonna talk to all the gym rats, all my buddies there, and even the managers there. I'm gonna be talking to them and say, hey, and here's what's cool about this, ladies and gentlemen, is you don't have to do any selling. Just tell them to watch the darn video. Just tell them to watch this. Share this with somebody you care about. And, you know, again, we're talking about a very elitist and arrogant industry, because we do think we know every damn thing, because we're bodybuilders. We lift weights. We read. We are hyper in tune with our bodies. And I would even go as far as to say even some of the people who are the yogists, some of the people who are in, you know, the more holistic industries don't know this. And those are the people usually you end up going to for your advice on nutrition. They just don't know about this. So it's up to you and us to share it and to do it in a way where it's non-evasive. It's like, hey, take a look at this video. I just watched it. It's pretty good. What do you tell me what you think? So that's the first phase that I'd like for everybody to do. So just, you know, share it, send it to a few people that you know about, care about. Second thing is just take a shot. Just take a shot. Get the hepatibin and the serapeptase. Just start with that. You don't have to. Now, if you could do all of them, fine, fantastic. I'd love to do that because I know I can attest to all 4 products, including the sugar balance. But if and you might even be in a budgetary situation, whatever, fine, no big deal. But now think about this: how much money are you spending on electrolytes? How much money are you spending on protein? How much money are you spending on you know, creatine and all of these other products that you're getting from, you know, a big supplemental store or chain? What if you didn't need all of that and you took that money and put it into your liver health? You know, you got the reverse osmosis filter, so now your water is clean. You've got your BPA water bottle that you can take with you. You know, maybe get a few of them, 3 or 4 of them or whatever, and just kind of rotate them out. You know, think about, so, you know, if there's always a way for us to kind of talk ourselves out of doing things that are better for us, but then there's always a way for us to do it better. So just kind of reverse it and say, wait a minute, you know what? Whatever these supplements cost, which is actually minimal. It's not a lot of money actually. You already have it in the budget because you're already spending it. But let's just try the first 2. Share the video, try the first 2 products, the serapeptase and the hepatibin. And then from there, you know, if you want to get the candida complex and what was it?
The serapeptase?
No, not serapeptase.
Oh, hepatibin.
Hepatibin, serapeptase, candida complex.
Red palm oil. Yep.
And so you can incorporate all of those together, then that's fantastic. But just start out small, but just share this with somebody, because there's definitely somebody you know that is having an issue. And especially those that think they know everything about nutrition. You know, one of the problems that I have, and Brendan and I have talked about this, ladies and gentlemen, in the green room, is my sweetheart is a nurse. And she's been a nurse for 40 years. She knows every damn thing. And so we all know somebody in our family or in our social circle that think they know everything, and you go to them for their health advice. They might not even be healthy for that matter, but, you know, you go to them for healthy advice. It's like going to a hairstylist whose hair is messed up, you know. And those are the people that you want to have them watch this video, and just send it to them. Don't sit there and watch it with them. Let them do it on their own. This is common sense. It all makes sense, and it's all researchable, and it's also based on science. Anything that you buy that is being sold to you in a commercial market, it's probably not good for you, because it's in that field. Because if you're not doing your own research and your own work and doing it for yourself, it's not individualized, right? Because this is an individualistic approach to your health. So, you know, some people might need all 4 products. Some people might need 1, might need 2, 3, whatever. It is designed to do exactly what it's supposed to do, and that is to clean out your liver and to remove leaky gut and to clear out your gut. If you have to buy it and it's being sold to you on a commercial, on a television commercial or something, is in a chain store or whatever, yeah, it's probably not good for you. Even Brendan was telling me fluoride in some of the waters, it's not good for you. You think, oh, fluoride, well, isn't that for my teeth? Yeah, but there's stuff in your toothpaste that might not be good for you, but LiberaMedic will cleanse it because it's something you use every day. So we're not saying change your entire life overnight, but if you are into physical fitness health, you're a bodybuilder, you are, even if you're a nutritionalist, a gym rat, you know, a highly active person, just try it. It won't kill you because you didn't try everything else. You know how many times people come up to you in the gym and say, hey, try this. Try it. Give it a shot. See what happens. Brendan, closing thoughts on any of this?
Yeah, I thought that was a great recap, and I think if everybody watched the video and got some educational pieces out of this and incorporated it even incrementally into their life, that would be really good. I will tell you that again, I've sat down with the CEOs of these companies within the sports nutrition field, and I'll tell you that they eat organic. And oftentimes they don't take their own products. They will take cleaner products out of the not in the sports nutrition field, but in my field, where you end up finding these in the mom and pop health food stores. So don't kid yourself. The experts know, so become an expert.
Speaking of mom and pop shops, most people think you can get LiberaMedic only and exclusively from online on LiberaMedic.com, which you can, but you're also in select mom and pop shops around the country. Is that right?
Yeah, if you go to the website and you go under locations, we're in almost 100 stores at this point, and we're getting picked up by a couple of other larger chains. When I say chains, I mean health food stores that have somewhere between 10 and 15 stores. You'll never find us in a large chain. It just doesn't make sense for us business-wise.
Yeah, it does. It, absolutely. It goes against their bottom line that they're chasing you right now.
And quite frankly, our mission statement too. I mean, you and I have talked about this. One of the main reasons why I got involved in this was to improve people's health. But the other part of this is somewhat spiritual. If you cleanse yourself and you become a more conscious individual, you will be, for some of you, this might seem a little frou-frou, but for other of us, this is a real strong belief. You will take on a different vibration.
Absolutely.
And that is the whole purpose of this. So
Maslow calls it in the hierarchy of needs, self-actualization. And in at the base it's survival or whatever, but when you move into a state where you become what's known as a conscious being, you self-actualize. And we all know that we are made of atoms and subatomic particles, and if you took our blood or whatever and looked at it and under a massive microscope, it would be just these little neutrons and protons and neurons spinning around. It would be an atom. And so that's a vibration, that's a frequency, what Brendan is talking about. And it is something etherical about when your body begins to cleanse itself. You will feel differently. You will feel higher. And I don't mean high in terms of a artificial high. I'm talking about you will feel a more spiritual connection. And it will change your thought process. And it's something that I think we need to do individually. And if we do it individually, then we are automatically do it collectively. So I thank you for sharing that with me, Brendan.
Absolutely. Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
All right, my friend, stay with me in the green room. Take care, everybody. We'll see you.